Frankie. Hi, Frankie.
Oh, who's that?
This is Frankie.
Frankie?
Yes, she just got back from the hospital today.
Oh, hi, everyone. How sweet.
Hello.
So I
Hello.
am joining. I know that this is like, there's some people already joining and watching this. So I'm
Oh,
going to
that's
introduce.
so cool.
I'm gonna introduce who you are. This is Shartrina. Shartrina White. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And she's the director of Luvin, which is an amazing animal sanctuary that I had the privilege to go visit, the opportunity. And it was started by Shailene and his family. And it's an amazing organization. And I'm going to have Shartrina take it away. And right now we are visiting one of the animals. And is this a member that I met, or has this member been there since I visited?
Frankie, Frankie's a new member, and Frankie, like right now, I'm rubbing Frankie's belly, and Frankie is talking to you. Do you hear her?
Yes, I can actually.
She's talking to you because she loves belly rubs, don't you, Frankie? So I'll show you what I'm doing.
Oh my God.
So this is like one of her favorite things. So we are a farmed animal sanctuary, and we rescue abused and neglected farmed animals. And Frankie has a very unique story, which I will tell you about. And I think one of the things that makes our sanctuary incredibly special is our founders are Jain Indian, and they believe in our whole sanctuary was founded on the principle of Ahimsa, which is such a beautiful principle, nonviolence toward all living beings. And so, yes, and she's talking to you about it.
She agrees.
Frankie's going to be like co-host. Yes.
Sorry, is Frankie a he or a she? I'm not getting this right.
Frankie is a girl.
Frankie is a girl. Okay, good.
I
just want to make sure.
Yeah, and so I'll just tell you one of the stories about Frankie is that she and her brother arrived here on December the 10th, I believe it was. Most people, we get a phone call that says, there's these animals that need rescued. Like, can you come and can you rescue them? She's going to keep, if I stop rubbing her belly, she's hard. Oh, you want it rubbed again? Huh? Yeah. I know. You want it rubbed again.
Love. It's just like you would with a puppy or a cat or any house animal that you would have. It's a member. She's a member.
I know. She's like, why are you stopping? Look at her. You want kisses? Yeah. You want kisses? Yes. Pigs are so smart.
They're so smart.
They have like the intelligence of a 3 to 5 year old child, which really demonstrates how she got here. So they escaped, her and her brother, from a nearby farm. Look at her.
Oh, I remember you sending the email about this. So Shartrina sends these emails out on each of the new members that come through, any rescue stories, and you give it from the perspective as if they were speaking. What they're going through, their journey. Like if they're escaping something, it's like the story is coming from them. And that's what I know. One of the many things that you guys do that is so special, to have people understand and really get perspective on compassion for all beings and being able to relate to them in that way.
Yes. And you know what? We're in Erie, Colorado, and we're in Weld County, which is completely surrounded by just farms and people raising animals to eat. And so of all the places in Weld County for them to find and to come onto the property, they found the only sanctuary where that they could live out their whole lives here. So we feel like literally it was meant to be, and that they knew exactly. I feel like really there's a special atmosphere here, and they knew exactly where they were coming. And eventually the farmers that were raising these two found us through all the media attention, And they told us the story that they had escaped actually twice. So the first time they escaped, watch her, she's rolling over so that I can give her a belly rub.
And they were babies when they came to you, right? They were
Yeah,
really
and they're still babies.
Oh, and they grown from the
Yeah,
picture that
so
I saw.
yeah, so
Wow.
they're still babies. So I'll show you a big pig here in a minute. But if you look at, she just had surgery, so she got spayed. So one of the things that we do, and it for girl pigs, one of the things is in sanctuaries we don't want them to reproduce to extend the problem of too many beings already. So she got through surgery just fine. So that's why her belly's all yellow like that. But she loves belly rubs. She'll drop, just like if you have a dog or a cat, like she'll just roll over for belly rubs. But I'm gonna let you guys watch her while I give her a belly rub. But
the expression is just so sweet. Yes.
Right? She's literally smiling.
Yeah.
Are you smiling? Are you smiling? But it was such an amazing story. They're so smart that they found the one place in the world that they could live out their entire lives, getting belly rubs, right? And one of the things that's so amazing about she's right now by herself because she's recovering from surgery. I can introduce you to her brother. But when she came here, she was so scared of people. You had fever, didn't you? And one of the great things is here is these little guys eat a lot. So if you really like Frankie, you can sponsor her.
Oh, and that's another great thing that you guys do is you can connect with any bunch of animals. Like if you want to select an animal and literally be their sponsor for their story, and I'm gonna like keep talking about you guys as we go along, just because I think what I saw. I mean, I think all sanctuaries are amazing. There's so many animal sanctuaries I've seen pop up across the country and around the world. Right. And it's amazing. But what I saw with yours in particular was, first of all, you, Shartrina, the love that you have for each animal. My dad pointed it out immediately that like the connection they have with you, the love they have, the love that you give. I mean, it's your passion, heart, and soul, and it shows in each of these animals' connections with you. Every single animal, and you're living on site, and you're literally checking in with them and giving them love every day, and that's why they look as happy as they do. And most of these animals have not seen beyond the agro-farming industries. They're locked in these prison-like spaces.
That's right.
And so I think your connection with them, one specifically, is what amazed me. Two, you guys do focus on education and making sure that that's a heavy emphasis for you guys. It's not just like, okay, come pet the animals and empathize. It's taking it another level and doing school tours, having people come visit the facility, education online so that they can have virtual tours and really connect with the work that you guys are doing. That's another thing.
Yes.
And then also you guys, what really blew me away was when I saw it in person was the rehab that you guys do. It's like artistic rehab that you would do for a human being, like, you know, if they had PTSD or trauma or needed art therapy or even music or, you know, different games. And what I've seen you do with the chickens, the clicker, and you know, all the different things, or the horses painting with their nose. You know, they have personalities like every single one of us, and the fact that you guys use that and don't just see, okay, they're animals, so we just love them and give them food and the basics and that's it. But no, you really treat each one of them like an individual, noticing each one of their personalities, their names, their backstories, and then also giving them the type of art or therapy or rehab that is specific to them. Whether it be your donkeys, your ducks, your pigs, your horses, your cows, each has a name and you know every single one of them. So I just want to say all that first.
You know what? I'm honestly so impressed that you gained so much in one visit that it's truly amazing. And it's true. So 80 billion animals are dying every year in horrific conditions, in conditions that like we can't even imagine. And it's hidden from us behind these factory walls. And so
I'm going to have you repeat that number again. 80 billion animals per year. 80 billion.
It's
like, I don't think people can fathom. It's just a number to people, but really, let's think about that. That's more seconds than we have. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even. Yeah.
And there's only around 8 billion people on the planet. So it's astounding, and it's not sustainable in any way, right? For the animals, it's horrific. But so one of the big things that we can do here at Love and Arms is education. So it is a huge priority, because we can't rescue ourselves out of this great problem that we have. And so the only way is through personal choice, is that every person has a choice of compassion and choosing what they are going to do, whether it's the makeup that they put on their face, the food that they put on their plate, whether they grab a plastic bottle or not. So everything impacts compassion in what we do. And so our biggest thing is education. And so we just had a school out with 70 kindergarten children just a few days ago. And so really teaching people about them as individuals, about who they are as an individual, is incredibly important, because they are. Everybody has a name here. So that's one of the things that you can soon learn. And I'm going to show you a couple, because you just saw a baby pig. So I want to show you one of our big girls.
I think I met her last time.
Yeah, and everybody has a story. So everybody, this is Lizzie.
Hi, Lizzie. I think I'm seeing you again.
And this guy here is Felix.
How's Felix doing? I remember.
Yeah, so Felix what is incredible about his story is his perseverance, that he loves life. Felix is our oldest pig resident here. He's going on 7 years old. And Felix has severe arthritis. And like you said, we try to treat everybody like you would your family member. So what do you do when a family member gets arthritis? And for a big pig who's been bred genetically to grow big really fast, it's hard on his joints. At the age of 2, CSU, which is our animal hospital in Fort Collins, said that he didn't have long to live. And so just like with anybody, their lives are enriched through like games, like through clicker play, like he's learning colors, he's learning to count. Felix loves to play that game. There, so they have a relationship. So once you're around them all, like friends and deep bonds, those individuals, everyone, like, how do you know? Well, they hang out together, they play together, and they sleep together. So you can always tell best friends at Love and Arms, because it's who's sleeping next to who. And that's who is really bonded best friends. You can tell at nighttime by who snuggles all up together to go to sleep. So they have the same emotional connections like we do. I mean, they have friends, they have loved ones. And my favorite thing was watching 2 of our cows fall in love.
Oh, wow.
We, like, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can see parts of it. It's called The Love Stories of Love and Arms. So on the YouTube channel, we capture that. And so one of the things we're trying to do too is film, because when you came here, you got a glimpse of that day of what's going on. We're here every day and we see so many things happening. And so we're trying to capture more of it on film to show the complexity of emotional relationships between them. But I'll take you out to the cows and I'll show you if you would like.
Absolutely.
Show you some of the cows.
Absolutely excellent. Yes.
And hopefully, if this does not work because it'll be going out into the pasture, I'll come back. So
no worries. No worries. So far, it's been working very well.
So Lucky was one of our cows, and his story's on YouTube too, that we rescued. And Lucky was a cow that had never, ever been with another cow before. He was raised alone from a baby. He was his mother died. She was attacked by a wolf. And I love wolves, so I just want to put that out there to all of you. And I believe in, like, every being deserves their life, but that's just what happened. And the ranchers, the kids begged their dad to take care of him. And a lot of times when a mother, or they're taken that young, they actually don't make it from being taken from their mother that young. But Lucky made it. They brought him here to Colorado, and Lucky had never been with a cow before. And so when he came to Love and Arms, we heard about his story. Some people you can listen to his story also on YouTube. But some people in Lions saved him because they realized he literally went to the fence, like when he was out in the pen, trying to get people's attention. He just wanted to be with somebody. And so when the town realized, some of the people in the town realized he was going to be slaughtered to be eaten, they had created such a bond with him. He was in this field all alone. They went to visit him every day. They reached out to us and we said, we will definitely rescue him if you can look
hello.
like typical cows around here. And he came somewhere from, I'm not sure exactly even what kind of cow he is. Isn't his horns cute?
Adorable.
Hi, Ducky.
Hi.
So he had never seen another cow before.
I mean, just imagine
so when
if you
he
were
came
human.
out here with our cows,
Sorry
never being with, never seen another
like
human
if
being.
the human being had never seen it, like, can you even imagine? Continue, please. Yeah.
No. And so one of our cowgirls, we call them cowboys and cowgirls because we don't call them steers or heifers or the things that the industry calls them, just because, you know. So this is one of our boys, and so we call them cowboys and cowgirls, and we redefined the term. And
well, verbiage matters. Vocabulary, that framework, it changes the framework of how you think about, what you're calling anything. So yeah.
It really does. And so we just wanted to change that term around so it wasn't like a term. They're not commodities. They're not something for sale. They are an individual. And
they're not products. They're not objects. Exactly. Yes.
Just amazing. But when Samantha saw him, like, if imagine when a young girl falls in love and sees a boy from across the room that she likes, imagine how she acts. And I think we can all remember what that was like. Well, so when Samantha saw him, she started running and jumping and kicking her back legs up. Like, she was just literally, you could tell, we're all like, oh my goodness, she is smitten with him. And then we would come outside, and in the beginning, the girls weren't with the boys because now they are. So I don't know if you can see the girls way far over there.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk over and see if we can keep the connection.
Yeah.
When the girls first saw him, she reached across the fence, and we would find them cuddling across the fence with their necks entwined with each other. And I was like, this is just literally, we have to tell the love story. So the motivation for that movie, if we tell more stories than Sammy and Lucky's, was there's so many love stories here, right? There's so much beauty in the world that nobody ever gets to see. And so, like, we have to tell their stories. And cows are all species are amazing, but cows, I just have such a special place in my heart for them. Their heart rate is lower than ours. And so when you're with them, your heart rate lowers too. So wow. It has the effect of Xanax. Like, it has the
natural Xanax.
It is, right? So you can just come, and I'm going to introduce you to Tito. Tito's my baby. Hi, baby. He's really 4, but
hi.
Can you see Tito?
I can see Tito. I can see him chomping away. That's right.
Yeah, Tito came to us at 10 days old. Oh. And Tito is just my big baby, aren't you? Oh my. Tito, he was bottle fed by us. So he was his story was he came on a veal truck. And from Texas to Colorado, and there were 3 that were like left over, just tiny babies taken and almost dead. And we took the 3 of them to CSU, our veterinary hospital, and Gideon died that day, and Murphy died a month later because without the colostrum, just think about babies, human babies, right? They need their mother's milk and their colostrum. And he was the only one that survived, and they think it was because they tested him. He was the only one that had a small amount of colostrum, so he must have been able to suckle just for a little bit.
Something, yeah.
That gave him more immunity and allowed him to be a little bit stronger, but he was very sick for many months. But now he's just a big baby.
Oh, he's a big, strong boy. Yeah.
And
wow.
did you know cows like to hug? I hope he does.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. But I mean, even like the fact that they're natural therapy. Like if you're in high anxiety, stressed, heart rate super high, just hugging them will bring your heart rate down.
Oh my gosh, it does. Just like being here next to him. Sometimes Tito, he might do it while we're on the phone here. He'll wrap his head around you and he'll squeeze you like a big burrito. And everybody, this is Marley. And Marley's one of our cowgirls. She's just a year old. Hi, honey. She's my big baby. Tito's like, get out of here. She's mine. It's a jealousy thing. Do you see this?
I do. I mean, they're full on.
So if animals have jealousy, right? They have all the same complex emotions, and there's nothing like being fought over by two cows. This is quite lovely, and I'm getting slimed on a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. Just like a baby would. I mean, they're babies, just like a baby would.
They're babies. And Marley, Marley was so I came here about 3 years ago. 3 years ago in October, and Marley was my first rescue that I actually participated in.
Wow.
So Marley was also just a baby from a dairy farm. One of the things that people don't realize on dairy farms is the babies are taken away, right? Because cows just don't produce milk.
That's correct. Yes.
And so Marley was born with a twin, and they call it various things but there's a failure to thrive. So the babies literally will just, after being taken from their moms, they just don't thrive. And her brother, they get thrown into a pile and they're just left to die. Sometimes the farmers will or the people will kill them to put them out of their misery. But this particular dairy farmer called up a sanctuary and said, do you want them? And it was Dan from Barn Sanctuary, and Dan said, I can't handle them. So he gave me a call, and I said, we'll take them. So they had to immediately, though, go to the hospital in Michigan, at Michigan State. There at Michigan State, her brother died and did not make it. And Marley, cows are like emotional beings. Like, I cannot tell you how important it is that they need to be with somebody, just like Lucky sought out attention of people because he needed somebody. But we never rescue cows if we can help it alone. We want to try to do that. And so her as a baby, we're like, oh my goodness, she's going to come here and she's going to be all by herself. I'm going to go show you Marley. So what happened is myself and some volunteers took turns sleeping with her, and we slept with her for the first 2 weeks. So it was the first time I grew up on a farm, but I had never slept with a cow. So Marley's my first sleeping cow partner.
Oh.
And so I have such a close bond with her. And say, yes. And if you see, she got to keep her horns. So cows, I do. Yes. Aren't they beautiful?
They are. And it's so nice to see them, actually.
Yeah. So it's what's really funny about, have you ever seen dogs that climb and jump on you when you come home?
Mm-hmm.
Cows do that too. And it's our cows that are like really close to us that we've raised from when babies. Like Marley, when I was down like that, she wanted to jump. I can tell the signal. She wanted to jump and give me a great big hug. So for a cow, you can imagine what manners that is for a big dog, but for a cow.
So they could trample you.
That's why
their love could literally compound on top of you.
Yeah, so that's why I stood up, because I know her signal, like, okay,
Yeah.
mom, it's time for a hug.
How sweet. And for those who may not know, I mean, what specifically done to cows, pigs, and chickens, it's just the fact that they put the baby in front of the mom to make her milk, they over milk her. I mean, I know you know all of this. I'm saying this for people who may watch or who may be on it. World Peace Diet is a great book by William Tuttle that spells out what goes on specifically in the American industry, what's been going on, what it currently is happening, and people just aren't aware, or they're disconnected from the cycle. They just go to the store, pick it up. They're not aware because they're used to tradition or habit or whatever they're used to, but they're just not aware of the cycle and the industry that's exponentially grown, the agro-farming industry, and half of it goes to waste. It uses up most of our world's resources. It's the number one cause for Earth's devastation, if you will, and across the board. And with cows specifically, it broke my heart when I read the realities of what's done to the baby boys. As you said, they go straight to the veal industry. The baby girls, they're impregnated at the human equivalent approximately of the age of 3. Our
Yeah, it's
kids'
crazy.
age, they're fed horrible things. At one point, they were fed cow mulch as well, but that started mad cow disease. That stopped.
That's right.
But then, like the way that they're treated, they should be living till 40, 50, and they are dying in 5 because they're injected with hormones and all these things. They don't get to move. They're in prison cells. And so what's being done to these amazing, beautiful creatures, and to see your connection with them and your relationship with them, and the fact that we can't even stand to watch probably one of them get hurt. Imagine millions every
No,
single day. We wouldn't be able to do it unless you've disconnected yourself from any kind of compassion or empathy.
and they have vocalization. So like we know, just if you spend a lot of time with an animal, like everybody has a certain call for a certain thing, you know what I mean? Or but they do too. They have their different types of moves for what they want to do. So, and one of the things that we really wanted to show with, so clicker play is like, it's a way of creating a language, a common language between two species who don't speak the same language, right? So basically, they're learning English. So with a click, they know that is the affirmative response. So when we say come touch, now they understand the word touch is to come touch our hand. Or when we call their name, right? Now they're smart enough. We haven't learned moo, but they've learned English and they come, right? And when we're working with them, instead of way, she's been skills from a
Oh
very
no,
early age.
it went out for a moment. It went out for a moment. So let's go back a little bit. It stopped at when you said instead. So you said that you were saying
Oh,
that we haven't learned moo, we haven't learned cow language, but they've learned English. And then
that's
it
right.
cut. So I'll have
Okay.
you help me
So I was
explain.
just some of the skills and words, right? They're all nine species. So turkeys, horses, cows, pigs, everybody's doing clicker play and they love it. Everybody loves to learn. And they get so excited about, and we paired them with one volunteer piece. So what is standard to trim their hooves is to put them in a machine and tilt them sideways. And
Oh,
cows, when they get fear, just like anybody, their eyes get really big. And that was the only way that most people know how to do it. But we've been working on clicker play, where we touch their leg, and then we just their hook. So doing a lot of work to make
sorry,
things
it cut
fearful
out one
for
more
them.
time. So you sorry, it cut one more time. You said you touched the leg, and then what
Yeah.
happened?
Then we trim it. So they get used to us doing that and they get rewarded for it. And then so when we ask them to give us their leg, they do. So that all of their care can be done without fear. So it's really taking Ahimsa to the next level, right? Not only treatment, but in every aspect of what we do with them is to care for them.
It's communication. You're able to
That's right.
directly communicate with them in a common on a common level, and that's phenomenal. And the clicker play, just watching you do that with the chickens, it was amazing just to see them respond. And it's not like unfortunately, people like who have zoo animals or train them in a certain way, or do things to make them do tricks. For
Right.
you guys, it's you're training them so that they can communicate their truest feelings to you. It's not for
Right.
you to show off and be like, oh, look at what they can do. It's like, no, 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 no. They're getting to communicate to us so that we can give them the best care possible and we can understand them better.
Right.
And that have a common ground on really like you said, we didn't learn moo. I loved how you said that. We didn't learn move, but they basically learned English, or they've been
That's
learned
right.
the human language. It's
So it shows you how incredible every being is, right?
yeah.
And they all have their own intelligence. And there's no way of communicating to somebody more intelligent. Everyone has their own unique intelligences. And I think that people are just beginning to understand that we have no idea of the complexity of emotion and sentience behind them, because we have not even tried to understand that. And that every being is special because of who they are.
Just like a human being, no two humans are the same.
That's right.
It's like that with every being. It doesn't stop at humans. It extends to all life, whether they be animals, whether they be sea life, whether they be even plants, even the elements. Like there's life in everything. And for us to connect to the base root of that, that's really the key. And I think that's what you guys are doing so beautifully. And speaking of you, I love how you started it with Ahimsa. And even though I was raised in a Jain background, where Ahimsa is the root, and it's so beautiful to be raised in this background, we're familiar with these concepts, like some parts of the world, whether they be Jainism, Buddhism, parts of yoga, different spiritualities in the world, indigenous cultures, they talk a lot about this. They have been talking, and they do talk. But of course, sometimes I feel that in Western science, until it's not proven by Western science, it's not considered legit, right? So until science doesn't prove it, then it's like, oh, now these discoveries are being made that there's such complex emotions, and animals and plant life have these abilities, and it's like, well, this has been aware in other parts of the world and other parts of groups for some time. And so the thing is, though, that we're just, even our groups that have been raised with those values are disconnected from that. So even though we're raised Jain, we're not living in farms and doing this sanctuary work. Like we're just maybe diet by diet vegetarian, and probably helping with sustainable products or are doing things on a less range. But at the end of the day, we're still living in the systems that are partaking in these harms, whether that be the dairy industry, whether that be where we're getting our clothing, how we're living our daily lives. And like you said in the beginning, everything contributes. Everything contributes, like all these small daily habits. And so what I love about what I see the work that you guys do is you're really taking the application of these principles in our modern day way of life and circumstances in action. You're really, it's not just I'm having a vegetarian diet and I'm good. It's like, no, there's so much that can be done, needs to be done. How do you take compassion and this way of non-ahimsic way of life to the next level? And this is where I see it happening, like your simple interactions of what I see with your guys' work and you and the animals.
And it's I would say, some people say like, well, dairy, eating meat, but dairy is honestly one of the most abusive, because the female cows, right, their babies are taken away every year. And if you think about a mom and what happens when if somebody would take her baby away, cows cry for days, the babies cry for days. And one of the other things that we didn't is like, in New Zealand, they keep track of, they call them bobbies. That's what they call the calves that are taken away from their moms, but that die because they're so sad. In New Zealand, it's 7,000 a day. We don't keep track of how many die just from the act of being taken from their moms. And that would have been Marley's case, who you met, right? It was being taken. They refused the alternative milk that is provided. And then those mothers, we talked to a neighbor, that down the street, and he was talking to me about his cows, and the udders are so large. Like when you milk them and you continue to do that, their udders almost touch the ground. That's unnatural. And that wouldn't happen if we weren't mass taking milk from them. If it was just the baby, their udders are very small. So that milk production that's there, and the udders get sore, and they live like this for 3 to 5 years. But because they're so sick in these confined areas, they have to take massive doses of antibiotics. And so to keep them alive. And so the average lifespan for a mother cow is only 3 to 5 years because her body is so spent.
So
And she's
fatigued.
so sad after all of that. And then, like these guys right here, the boys are just, sent for veal and discarded because they're not needed. And so he's one of
They serve no
he's one of the
purpose.
lucky ones, aren't you?
Yeah.
So there's so much suffering. But then you have to think about this. I think about this part along. It's not all the suffering is not gone. Where does that suffering go? It goes into the milk and into the food we're eating.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we're feeding that suffering to our children as if it's a health food. And milk wasn't even made for people, right? It's made for this guy to get large really fast and grow up fast. It's made for him, not for me. We're the only beings that drink somebody else's milk that's made for their baby, not for us. And so all of those things, we've become so disconnected. He's leaning on my shoulder. I love that. I do. Those are the things I think about, is all those things that were technically supposed to be healthy. There's so many other things out there now, products that, if you like milk, there's so many great alternatives. There's Next Milk, there's oat milk, there's almond, and if
you can make it on your own. You can make it on your own. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't need any of the preservatives or any of the
No.
gums. You can just make it on your own. And I know that for some people, sometimes there's conversations, okay, well, what about, some people can afford or have the privilege to do that. And of course, those conversations can also take place, but sometimes it's just starting with the knowledge, and it's not to blame or judge anybody, of course. It's just to, hey, you need to know what system you're a part of. You need to know the land you're on, what's going on in your environment. Not that you started all that or because of you, but if you're living in the society, you're partaking in it, whether you like it or not. If you purchase something, whatever you're doing, what just being in society, unfortunately, we're having to partake in this, in these systems. And I think that one, being aware of the entire process, what's actually going on, and then understanding really our speciesism, like just because we're raised with that kind of mentality, or that's what's grown up around us, or that's what we were taught, or that's what we think we know.
Right.
That doesn't make it okay, or the way of truth, or the most compassionate option. And I think that the biggest one that really does surprise me is the attention to dogs and cats, particularly in the West, and then then complete 180 with other animals. And I'm like, if you can understand your passion and your love for your dog or your cat or your pet, then that shouldn't be that removed from looking at another being. Otherwise it's a form of hypocrisy if we really boil down to it.
And and what's interesting, people do eat dogs in certain parts of the world.
Yes.
And then
yes,
in the West, people are horrified, right? I'm horrified about it all, because everybody, right? Because it's all horrifying. And we think about all of the pandemics right now and what's going on. It's animals being raised in these confined areas. And right now, I don't know even if you're aware, but we have the avian flu that's sweeping through the country right now. And the avian flu, to date, there's over 28 million birds have been killed. So if one bird gets it in a flock, they come in and kill the entire flock, so that it doesn't get into the food system. But they keep saying, like, well, you don't have to worry. This is not something that's going to transmit to humans. Well, if there wasn't such a worry, why are we killing? If there's a million birds in one flock and one bird comes down with it, why are we killing all of them? To the point now that over 28 million birds have been killed. It's because it is a threat to the human food system. But then how we're killing these individuals as if they're nothing, it's tremendous suffering, because they're literally spraying them with like this foam, and it does not kill them right away. So because of how we eat, it's causing such mass suffering to individuals. And is that suffering worth that food on our plate? And one of the things at Love and Arms you can do, we have cooking classes. We've got one this Saturday on alternatives to chicken and eggs that you can join us virtually if you go to our website. Love and Arms is Luvin. You can learn alternatives, and we try to do things on a budget. Like beans are so nutritious and so good for you. Fiber is so underestimated, and it's such a health food. And we can feed people. If we were to feed, we could feed the whole entire planet if we were all to eat plant-based, because all of the food and land that goes towards these individuals,
the livestock here, yep,
right,
half of which them are killed and don't even get consumed.
That's right.
That's not even.
That's right. These guys eat a lot. So to produce one, like they drink, guess how much water they drink? So talk about 50 gallons of water a day. And most of the West is in a drought.
Yep.
And yet we're giving all of that water right now. You can probably speak to this. The entire state of California, starting in, is it June or May, that you're going to be going under water restrictions. I just heard it on the news today.
I'm going to have to check. I actually don't know myself, but it's been being talked about for a long time.
Yes.
I mean, it was
on the news this morning, just this morning. I think it's June 1st or end of May. Water restrictions are for all of California, even Los Angeles. When I think about the number of people living in Los Angeles under water restrictions, and right, but yet nobody's talking about the amount of water going to produce meat, which is unnecessary.
Exactly.
It's completely
the highest number.
Yes.
The highest number. That's the thing. The thing harming the planet. The biggest cause is agro farming. It's the animals, even before carbon emissions, even before human consumption and waste. It is literally, that's the one that nobody wants to talk about, because that's where the corporations' money is at. That's
right.
where the funds at, and that's the biggest moneymaker. So of course that's the one that's not being talked about. You know, or if it is,
they didn't even talk about it during the global climate crisis, right? So think about this. Cows poop a lot.
They're manure.
There's only 8 billion people, and most people have like some type of treatment system. If you think of waste treatment, right, for human waste, there is no treatment plant for the waste. Where is that going? Does anybody think about that? It's going into the rivers, into the oceans, and it's creating dead zones. New Zealand has a new documentary out called Milked. They're saying every waterway in New Zealand now is contaminated. There's probably not a waterway in the United States that is not either, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or when it comes to waste, not manure waste specifically, but waste in general, you find a poor country to sell it to. So somebody else has to take the dump. So the smallest minority groups around the world face the implications of, other countries who can afford to have their waste put elsewhere or back into the ground.
Yeah, but we don't move poop anywhere. It stays where it's grazed at.
Exactly.
So all of the poorest people, right? So you're talking North Carolina has huge factory farms, and it's all in people of Black and Indigenous and people of the global majority area, right? So North Carolina, if you look at where all the large factory farms, it's all in areas of poverty, where people don't have enough money to hire lawyers to say, like, we all have asthma, we're all dying of cancer. All of the things that these factory farms have that are putting out all this waste and this huge smell, and they just have to live with it. If you start really digging into it, all of these huge processing and facility plants are put into areas of poverty. And then you're not even talking about the workers. They're hiring workers who can't say anything because they're hiring people who are undocumented. They're hiring people of poverty who don't have any other choice but to work there or don't feel that they do. And so we're not only contributing to the suffering of animals when we eat, but we're contributing to the suffering of the most abused people on the planet as well. So there's a lot of issues if you really start looking into it.
It's just all so connected, and
Yeah.
it can be overwhelming to learn all of that at once, but it's the reality. It's the
Is that
reality.
you? Did you hear
Hi,
him?
I did hear him.
He said I wanted to contribute to this
He's
conversation
like,
today.
I've been here the whole time and you guys are not acknowledging my presence.
I'm so sorry, Bubby.
Hello. We need to talk a little bit more about you, don't we?
Yes.
Yes.
He said, I am so special. You know what? I'm going to tell you a couple. You want me to tell a couple things about you? He makes people cry. So people will follow him on like Instagram and like Facebook. And I had this couple who just got married and she'd been following him and she's from the East Coast and she came out here for their anniversary or like for their wedding. They came out here for their honeymoon and all she wanted to do was to meet Tito. How is great is that? Like, you know, she's
First of all, how
married.
sweet that that's their honeymoon vacation, and then
Right.
they come out to see this boy right here.
And I called Tito. I'm like, Tito. And he came running from the field up to the, like, where she was at. I've never seen somebody cry. Like, she made me cry. Like, she was so happy to get. I know, Tito, you have that effect. He does. He's such a handsome man. He has that effect of making. I have seen more people when they get to meet this guy, right? He said, I know, I'm pretty special.
He's
But
got the background track of "I'm a Survivor." Like I can just see it, in the background, and for his own personal show. But one thing I want to touch on, based on what you just said,
yeah.
was that feeling of joy, like utmost joy that she felt, that people feel interacting with animals. Because you know how people say, like, I don't like people, I love animals.
Yes.
Because there's no filter. They're exactly who they are, and they communicate wholeheartedly like a child, right? and
Yes.
and and so what's so beautiful about that is I feel like we've become so numb to just be okay, to just be mundane, almost numb at times, and having a few moments of joy is like, oh, so lucky. Why can't that joy, that blissfulness, that connection be there majority of the time? Like, why does it have to be a rare occurrence? Why does it have to be something so scarce rather than something that can be like, for you? I mean, what I love is that you literally were just like, if I could get this dream job, which you did, and you're experiencing this every day. And how lucky are they to have you? And also, I'm just so proud of you for taking your step and being like, this is what I'm doing with my life. And you're getting this joy that you feel strongest to. It's the perfect mix of the two. I can't get over that. I really can't.
Yeah. It's, um, every one of them out here, right? Because I mean, they're so incredible. Like, get to know their personalities. Tito, um, they have joy and they grieve just like we do. And so, as amazing as this is, it's also I say it's like it's also as equally as hard, right? So it's life because it's so beautiful, but then the harsh reality of because of many times of where they came from, their lives are cut short even at sanctuaries because of the disease and how we've genetically modified them. And so that is life, right? It's the cycle of life, but it's so beautiful getting to be able to experience that. And I think that when humans meet them and they say, like, I love animals, I think it's because, right, they're accepting of all of us for who we are. And they simply have no judgment against us except if we hurt them,
Right.
right? So cows do have a memory.
Yes.
Cows can remember things. So cows have like some of the longest memories ever. And I know. And so if you hurt a cow, cows will remember it. And they can remember so far that what we've proven or understand, it's up to over 10 years. So if
Wow.
somebody was, yeah, so they look at, but when they're so sweet and and they're loved, right? It's just this amazing feeling of love in our hearts, and it extends to the entire planet. Like when I look around now, I look at everybody differently. I thought, oh, he's gonna give me a hug. Like even little birds, every little bird you see in the sky has a unique personality, and like and everyone loves their life.
Exactly. And I
And
think
no
that's,
one wants to, no one wants to die. When Tito, I have to tell you, his best friend Leroy got sick, and we had to take him. He's laying his head down. Oh my gosh, are you just the cutest thing ever? Are you so cute? I'm trying to see if I can get you this picture of him laying down.
oh my God, I
Did you
see
know
it.
that cows stretch out like that? Is that just the cutest thing?
I mean, but that's how you know that they're completely relaxed. It's like when a dog or a cat, especially dogs, I've seen this with dogs at home, if they've come from the pound or if they've come from the shelter, and unless they really trust you, they don't
Yeah.
display and lay down and relax and show their belly, or just completely like, let themselves go. And that's what I'm getting to see with these big, big, enormous creatures with you.
Know it. And his best friend was Leroy, but when Leroy went to the hospital, I literally believe that, well, he knew. So when we were loading him up into the truck, Tito come running into the barn, and he starts crying as Leroy, his friend, is being taken to the veterinary hospital. And he stood there and watched where that truck left and watched where Leroy had been. And then he went outside and sat. And unfortunately, Leroy died. And all three of our boy cows at that time, the girls weren't with them, sat near the barn for over a month and a half and would not leave. It was like a vigil. And I was like, if people could be around them and understand that they grieve like we do,
Mm-hmm.
just,
Mm-hmm.
and he still to this day, we thought Lucky might be a really good friend for him. And Lucky ended up being a really good friend for Samantha, the little girl cow over there. But we thought because he lost his best friend, but we can't make up the friends. We can only guess that they had similar personalities, and he's friends with everybody, but nobody has replaced Leroy.
Mm.
So just like, you know,
Just
us.
it, like you mentioned it before, the complex emotions that people just aren't even aware, like unless you're with them or unless you're, experience them, like being with them on that level, you wouldn't know,
No,
you know and that's what's so remarkable, and I get to hear the details and the stories and the specifics and the individuals through you, and I know that all these other sanctuaries around the world are probably, have their own stories to share and tell, and that's why I recommend to people, like, just go visit one. Just
yes,
go visit. So I want to definitely put your guys' name out. So Love and Arms. This is Shartrina's personal page, but there's also Luvin Arms. That's your Instagram page. You also have a YouTube channel. Is it also the same name, Love and Arms?
yeah, all Love and Arms, our
All
website,
Love and Arms
everything. So you
website. And
on.
I would highly, highly, highly encourage you guys to go check it out. So whether that's you going to the farm itself, if you go to Colorado, I would just recommend that if you can get the in-person experience. Hello. Hi. So you
She's,
can meet these beautiful babies.
this is Marley.
Hi, Marley, again. Hi,
And Marley again, like, yeah, she's my baby. So she she's like, I'm the one that you slept with. Don't forget me. And
Yeah,
she's
yeah, the first one.
yes, and she's friends with Blue, my dog. And so her and Blue, they played together when they were babies, and we slept. She slept with them, and so the two of them would play together. So I think I've even got it on my Instagram page if you follow on there or go to Love and Arms. But
Perfect.
I've got pictures of her and Blue playing together. But she still gets excited when she sees Blue. Like, she'll start hopping and dancing around when I bring him out. He's up at the house now, but she still gets excited, don't you? Did
Amazing.
you see what he did? He trying to he tried to butt her out of the way.
Oh my
So
God.
he like
Just like
reached with
just
his
like
head.
siblings.
Uh-huh.
Siblings fighting for mama love.
Oh my gosh, so funny. And she wants attention, so she's not gonna back out. She's like, no.
Just like siblings. Exactly
Yes.
like siblings.
Oh, I love it
No,
so much. I know,
I mean,
honey.
we could like just do series on series on series with this, because you just meeting every single one of the animals, getting to interact with them, because you also have donkeys, you have horses, you have
We could
chickens, you
we could
have
just go out
ducks,
and spend
you have
time with
pigs.
all of them.
I mean, and what amazes me is you guys are also really focused on sustainability. It's not
Yes,
easy.
that's
You
right.
rescue animals. You also sometimes have to, you can't take every animal in. You
No,
would love to, but how you have to take care of the ones that are there and the ones that are coming in and maintain and grow the space. And
yeah,
it's already grown so much, but it must be so difficult because it's not just like, okay, they come for a little bit and they leave. They're there. They're
for
leaving.
life.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really it's so we have over 115 individuals here, and we promise them a home for life. And so our main mission is doing exactly what we're doing now, connecting people to them as an individual. So we need to get to know them on an individual basis and be able to tell their stories. But it also has to be sustainable because we can't rescue ourselves out of this problem. So we have a few, and we have a criteria. So we probably get over 300 phone calls every month for rescue situations. And most of them, I would really encourage people to be responsible about the animals that they get because most of them are rehoming calls, and we don't rehome. It's
Mm.
asking people to, like, I no longer want my goat, or I no longer want this. We can't just you don't give away, yeah, I guess some people do their children, right? But on a normal basis, you can't just give somebody away. Like, when we take them on, it's our responsibility to care for them for life. That would be number one. And so a lot of them, we try to help people find placement. And then we get cases of abuse and neglect. We only have so much room. So we have to, if we can't take them on, we try to help find ways for them. But like, there's 80, like, think about how 800, like, there's just so many animals out there. And that are really our most sustainable way to make this work is to stop eating them.
Stop eating, so that
Um,
they stop mass producing them. So they
that's right.
stop basically because it's not like they're naturally growing like this. It's not
Yeah,
like their numbers are naturally this big. This is not natural. This is human manipulation,
that's
and
right.
that can be stopped by something as simple as choosing to have something different, choosing to wear something different. Just being aware. So many of us just aren't aware. And like you said earlier, I thought what was so great about what you said, if you adopted a child, if you made the decision to adopt a human child, you
Right,
wouldn't just say, okay, it didn't work out for me. I'm gonna just give this child away.
right,
It's that kind of responsibility. It's that kind of understanding that it's not just a plaything, right?
right.
It's not just
Just
a
like
pet.
it's a commitment for life. When we agree to take care of somebody, like, and you probably, if you're around us long enough, like, a personhood is an idea, right? It's an individual. Like, we call them people. And in a sense that everyone has they are their own person. And you can't just give away people, right? You can't, people just drop their dogs off, right? It's the same thing. That's not acceptable. Like, we need to do some education around who they are as individuals. And we have made them, um, look to us for food. This is our problem that we've created, and we have a responsibility to them. um, they're not naturally found in the environment. What we have done to them. So if we can reduce the amount of that are being bred, reduce the problem, and continue to reduce, these factory farms will go out of business. um, the
And
mass
the
production will
workers
stop.
can have other jobs.
That's right.
And
We
when
can
people talk about
food.
jobs, I'm like, they can have better jobs. Who
Look at
wants to
him.
massacre beings? Oh
Do you
my
see what
God.
he's doing? He's rubbing his head
Snuggles.
on my back.
He's like, can you please get off the phone? I need to snuggle you, like wholeheartedly.
I love it so much. Like, when he tries to get attention, if he's standing up and he wants my attention, he'll come and look at me in the eyes and be like, "I want you." But then he turns around and presents his butt to me, so that, because he likes his butt scratched.
Oh my, I mean, the detail. It's
Yeah.
the detail for me, the specifics. I mean, it's just, and I just think that, if we can just, it can seem so, like a big picture, but really it's just like, oh, I hear also a lot sometimes that people will say, oh, okay, well, humans aren't being treated well. So what, why, like, why focus on the animals when humans aren't being treated as well? And it's like, just because one group is not being treated well doesn't mean that another group is on the waiting list. Like, why can't we just treat across the board any being better? Why is one on the totem pole higher than the other?
And you know what, think about this too. I think if we were to start teaching our children from the very young age that all beings have value.
Exactly.
Then we wouldn't be so much and to mistreat anybody.
Exactly.
If every being has value.
It's starting at the root.
That's right.
Starting at the root. And that's why I always felt this. I'm so glad you hit on this, teaching at a young age, because when you're aware at a young age, so much of who you are, that experience happens in those early years. And I think we as children and as little beings, we actually such compassionate beings. If you listen to children talk, they feel pain, they feel emotion. So many videos out there of like how they're like, I don't want to eat this, or I don't want to do, because they're so loving, just like animals. And almost it's like they're desensitized as they get older by whatever conditioning, whatever tradition, whatever thing they're grown around or desensitized to. And really, if that's just like you said, if compassion, ahimsa, truly are understood and practiced and felt, they're going to feel like that across the board, no matter who that is. It's a reversal of what's going on right now. And it can shape, the new generation can have a different understanding of how they're going into how they look, so it's across the board, and it's not specific individuals. It's not speciesism. It's only not one versus the other. It's like you said, it's compassion for everyone. And if you can have compassion for plants and animals, you're naturally going to take that across the board with humans.
That's right.
And,
it can be seen in the opposite too. So like the workers that are in the slaughterhouses, right? They have so much post-traumatic stress. They have much higher cases of suicide, much higher cases of family abuse, spousal abuse. And so that violence just perpetuates violence.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Us pretending like it's not happening, it is happening. And pretending by our going out to eat and dinner and pretending that how that happened on the plate wasn't it really is against all of our values. Because if you ask everybody, look how him snuggling. Oh my goodness, he is. Oh, you are a mess.
It's intense.
I cannot tell you how happy I am right now. But that is on everybody's. That's on our plates. That's on our dinner plates. And pretending like it didn't happen,
or like just because you didn't do the killing, that you're not responsible. That's usually it. Because I'm not the one chopping off the head. I'm separate from the process. I don't have to see it. The biggest thing I hear I hear it a lot. I've heard it a lot growing up was, oh my God, don't tell me about it because then I won't want to eat it.
That's right.
And it's like, well, you're just literally ignoring yourself from the truth, because you already know and you don't want to. So you're purposely like, and I understand that, like, the hesitation and the struggle with the process, but at some point you have to come to terms with the reality and the violence that you're taking inside of yourselves. We're made of water. The food you're consuming has water in it. Water has a memory. And whatever adrenaline, cortisol they're releasing at the time of their death is going inside you, affecting you. I mean, it's not just limited to them. It's directly affected. So I really like taking a moment to pause and really say, okay, well, what am I consuming? Where is it coming from? Who made it? How did it come? What elements were put in? What were the people growing the food? What was the process from the soil to my plate, literally, and taking the time. And that's how we learn. I learned more about getting from local markets as best as possible, or growing as much as possible, or just finding alternatives to make it better and better and better, to hopefully to the point where we're going to cause harm no matter what. We're human beings, we're living, we're breathing. When we breathe, microorganisms go in and out, but it's about causing the least amount of harm as possible and hopefully being as compassionate as possible. And I think that that's a very doable thing if we don't have this immediate defense against any knowledge or some light that is shed our way. And unfortunately, that's what we see a lot, is this immediately defensive attack. You're attacking me, you're imposing your ideas on me, you're forcing your thoughts on me. And it's like, well, it really, it's not about that. It's about it's usually their own selves speaking to them that they already are aware of. It's just, it's hard for them to, for their consciousness to, you know, actually take in that awareness and make a decision.
Yeah, and and with awareness comes responsibility. When once you become aware of the problem, and I think also the other thing that is people need to learn to forgive. We need to learn to forgive each other and ourselves, because once you become aware, I think the hard part of, if you take action, then you have to deal with. If you become aware, you have to deal with. There's this sense of guilt, like, what have I done all of this time? And at that time, we all need to realize, like, okay, now that I'm aware, I can forgive my past self and I can move forward. But not doing it or not recognizing it is worse than just saying, okay, I forgive myself, right? That I can move on, and I do love animals. And I think everyone will admit, I think almost everyone would say they love animals. So if we all love animals, then we have the responsibility to look further and to look deeper about what our actions are. And
I love that you said that about
yeah,
forgiveness and forgiveness of the self, because let alone animals in our diet and the planet, we don't treat ourselves with kindness. We don't talk to ourselves with kindness. It's somebody else's voice. We don't forgive ourselves, and so it carries absolutely across the board here. And I'll even highlight one thing that you said, that I love animals. This one, I've heard so many people say beautiful things on this. That, do you love, or do you love the way they taste? Because love is unconditional. Like let's break down the word love here, because love is used so much: mindfulness, awareness, intention. These yogic terms are thrown around, but not really walked the walk. They're not actually practiced. They're not actually applied. They're not, the depth of the meaning isn't really taken. It's just like things are flowery and sound nice, and
that's right.
we feel peace, but it's not really doing the work. And I'm like, because real yoga, real connection, real love is difficult. It's hard work. It's dealing with ugliness. It's not always pretty and candles and lights and meditation bowls and sounding peaceful. It's ugly sometimes. It's difficult. It's hard. It's like a relationship. And I think that what's so difficult is, let's really analyze this word love. Because if we're talking love, love isn't attachment. Love isn't, I do it for me, I love it for me, that's why it's love for you. Like, I'm like, you like the way that fish tastes. You do not love that fish. You want to save the sea. You want to save so they save the oceans. Stop. I love when people are like, oh, don't have straws, save the oceans. I'm like, if you want to save the oceans, just stop eating the
Stop
fish.
eating.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and so, yeah, when people say I love, I'm like, really analyze that. Really analyze that word. Love is unconditional. And it's like, I say it even with flowers. So with Janes, we don't give each other flowers and plants, because we don't pluck flowers for worship. We don't do any of that, because when you're talking about flowers, oh, I love flowers. You love the way they smell. You love the way they look. You love the way they make you feel. But what are you doing in return for that love for that flower?
That's
You
right.
just killed it from its source. And it's dead now. And it's going to survive for a few days, maybe in the water that you put it in, for your sake. Again, it's for yourself. It's not for that flower. Because if love is unconditional, it's also mutual. So what are you doing for that flower? So a beautiful example that was given was that if you really love that flower, you can smell it, you can admire its beauty, but you're going to let it be. It's going to be growing, and it'll survive and be doing its thing for so many other people. That's love. It's and so love gets thrown around so much, and I'm like, do you really love animals? Like, let's break this down. Let's break down this one word and understand the relationship of what that word means.
That's such a great point, because it's so complex. Like, we really love them, then what is it that we're doing for them to enhance and beautify their life?
Like, just because they're loyal beings and they don't speak your language, the love becomes an attachment one way. Just because they're unconditionally loving to you, they don't talk back to you like your children. They're there for you every time you come home, because they're the main relationship and source you have. Then what, like, again, and I'm not saying, of course, all pet owners are like this. There's some pet owners who do beautiful things, go above and beyond for their pets. But sometimes the relationships are like that. And we really have to analyze, well, what is this a mutual thing? You know, if my animal could speak, what would it say? You know?
That's such a great point, right? And they all, and the other, you know, and that brings up a great point. Somebody says like they're voiceless. They're really not, because if we took the time to listen and to try to understand their communication with us, right? They're speaking loud and clear. They are saying a lot. You know a lot just by what their actions and how they're talking to you, because they are speaking to us.
Yep. Exactly. You just have to be able to see.
That's right.
Because language is not just through words.
Yes.
It's through body, it's through emotion, it's through expression, it's through sound.
Yes.
And you can connect. And that's how we know that we're disconnected, because I always say we're disconnected in a place that's in desperate need of connection. You know what I mean? That's the best way I could put it. I love to express it in poetry.
Yes.
But you know, one thought that came to my mind that I think would be beautiful for your films, maybe we can work on something like this together. I thought I'd just share with you now, because it came to me while I was taking notes. And you're probably already doing this, but these films that you're doing on each of your animals, I thought a nice way of maybe going about it could be that you have an audio of the animal's monologue, whatever their story is.
Oh, I love
and you
that.
don't, so the whole time the person thinks that it's a human story. And then at the end you flip, once the story is over, or all the stories are over, you reveal each of who they are. And that brings a different, it can be a short film, it can be a bigger film, and it brings that empathy and that connection stronger for people who, you know, whether they already connect that way or they don't, it brings a different perspective on how we view other beings.
I think that's a great idea, Marley. Marley says, I think so too.
I think you think so, Marley. I mean, I need to make sure I have all of the animals' approval here. You know what I mean? So.
I think she loves that idea. She, because we talked about it in front of her, she wants to do the story first.
Yeah.
It'll be her, Tito, fighting over it, right?
So beautiful. I love that. We could literally, Shartrina, I'm so glad we were finally able to start this.
Me too.
We could talk on forever. And I think every single one of your meetings should be with all of the animals. It should be outdoors. I don't think you should have a single meeting inside on Zoom. I think you should have it each and every single one, because it just makes it so much more. It's like they're here. They're with us. They're a part of us, and everybody can see that. Whether it's one person or a bunch of people, it doesn't matter.
No,
you're the queen of having meetings like this.
I think you came up with a great strategy. And besides that, it makes my meeting so much more fun out here.
You want to be outside and you want them to engage so that you can have their approval, you know, because they give their opinions to you too.
They do.
This is their home. They need to have an input on this entire process. They are the speakers. Okay.
They really are the speakers. That is so true.
So yeah, I just want to thank you. Again, I'm gonna repeat. It's at Luvin Arms, Luvin Arms, Instagram page, YouTube page, website. I would highly recommend to go visit them. If not, if you want to help or contribute or support, look, that's the shirt right there. That's it. Shartrina's shirt. Beautiful. That's their symbol. That's their logo. All the animals. And you guys can contribute in any way. So whether that be, you know, whether that be through monetary ways, or if you guys want to visit, or if you want to support the education, or if you want to participate. I mean, these guys I can't keep up. You guys do so much work. I can't even keep up with just what you guys do. So it's amazing, the team that you guys have. Thank you, Richard. He's been watching. Yes, for meeting all the others. So some people are saying that they're putting their hands up for meeting all the animals. They love.
Oh, that's awesome.
They love seeing the animals. So this was with you, and I think we should do this again, and maybe
I do too. We can go. We can visit some others. We can visit the donkeys and the horses, and we could visit the sheep or the goats. Oh my goodness, the goats are characters. So.
Oh, I've seen them. I've seen those kids. literal
That's
kids. I've seen those kids. And I think that we can even bring up different stories, different issues, because I feel like, of course, everybody knows the general vegan issues, or when we talk about compassion and ahimsa, but when we really get into the nit grit and detail, you know, we can take one subject and really dive in so much. There's so much to be talked about. And I
Oh, there
love,
really is.
I really love, I just want to say this about you. I love how you always bring it around to the good, the love, the compassion. There's the knowledge of the sadness and suffering, as you said, of what's going on, but you always bring it around to, but this is a place of love, and this is one of the places where the work is being done, and you're living it every day, and you always bring those stories to light too. You bring the good and the love and the compassion. And so I just, again, my entire family, we were just so amazed. We can't say enough. And I just want everybody to visit and know about you guys, what you do, and basically any sanctuary out there.
Thank you so much. And you know, and I think that we all need hope, right? Like always in our life and watching the challenges that they went through. But there's hope out in the world and there's hope there. And I think that that's the important thing to remember is that we have choices. We can choose compassion. And there's always such a beautiful world out there that we can create. And there's hope. And so I love it. Thank you so much for everything today. I'm just truly appreciative we are of everybody's
No.
support.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Shartrina. And I know sometimes it takes me a little bit of time with my schedule and everything to go around, but trust me, I want to just support you guys as much as you can, because you guys are doing the work. I'm able to help you talk about it, but you guys are living the work. And I literally want to just contribute as much as I can to that process. And I can't suggest enough for anybody to go visit animals, to go have the experience. It's one thing to hear about it, talk about it, but to experience it, that's the biggest teacher, that's the biggest learning experience. It's just being there and experiencing that for yourself. So you do it every
And
day.
yeah, and we've got volunteers coming here, so there's so many opportunities, and whether it's joining us virtually or in person or supporting or sponsoring them. So again, thank you all so much.
No, thank you. And I'm gonna post this. I'll send it to you if I can, and we'll reconnect again. And anything that you have going on, Shartrina, just message me. I can put I can share it with people or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like I said, even if one person listens or multiple people listen, really, it's just about even me getting to meet them and say hi to them.
Oh, I love
You
it
know,
so much. And you
so
get to see how much they're growing up because
I
she's growing
do.
up before your eyes. Do you remember her? She was a little girl.
I know. It's
Now she
amazing. They
says,
grow up. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, she's just, yeah, I think of her as a teenager now because she's not full grown yet.
Oh, and they grow up so fast.
Oh,
Oh, somebody, the same person said, time well spent on a live podcast. Thank you guys for arranging this. Just hit this live event randomly and got to learn so much love from Canada. So just
oh,
put
yay,
that.
Canada.
So really nice. And I'm sure Canada has lovely farm animal sanctuaries too.
That's
So
right.
yeah, so I know we could, like I said, we could go on and on, but I think this is a great place for us to conclude for now. I'll give you love so you can enjoy the time with the rest of them, and we'll just touch base, okay,
Okay,
Shartrina? And we'll
that
do it
sounds
with the
great.
Love and Arms page for the
That,
next one.
yes, we absolutely, people will love that. So that would be great.
Okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you
Take
so
care.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye,
Bye
you
bye.
guys. Bye.